As a parent, it's one of those conversations you know you're going to have eventually, but you're never quite prepared for it when it happens. Or at least I wasn't. When your child points out that their hair isn't silky like their doll's hair or their skin is a different color than their friends, what do you say? How do you teach your kids to love themselves? We're going to bring in a cultural competence expert and family psychologist to help us navigate this tough topic that so many parents struggle with. Dr. Samantha Sweeney, thanks so much for joining us. What does the conversation about, when does it begin when it comes to race?
Sure. The conversation starts immediately, as soon as you possibly can to start talking about race. Race is one of those things that kids start to notice at a very early age. And so you really want to start talking about it as soon as you can, as soon as the child is able to have a conversation.
And what's the best approach?
The best approach is to keep the conversation going. You don't want this to be kind of a one-time thing that you talk about just once and then that's it. This is really ongoing. Kids are going to continue to have conversations. They're going to continue to want to know more. I think it's a great approach to start when a child is very young to expose them to things that are different from what they're used to, expose them to different types of people. Reading books, going to events, that kind of thing. And then from there, kind of having conversations as they come up, because they're going to come up frequently. Kids will ask questions.
Now, the toy aisle is diversifying, but there's still a long ways to go. Lots of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Barbie dolls, Disney princesses, white superheroes. Do these things play a role in who children believe to be are beautiful or look up to?
Sure. I mean, if a child, only has the opportunity to play with dolls that are, blonde and blue-eyed and that kind of thing, yeah, of course that can impact who they see as beautiful, who they see as pretty. But who they get exposed to in their everyday lives is also really, really important. So I'm not saying that you should only, have your child have dolls that look like them. They should really have a huge range, and these different dolls do different things and that kind of thing. So they can definitely add to it, but it's not the only thing. Who they see in their everyday lives is really important as well.
Now, as a parent, if we notice our children are only hanging out with other kids who look just like them, should we step in and try to diversify their circle of friends, or is that sort of overreaching?
No, absolutely. Friendship diversity is extremely important. But also, when you're looking at friendship diversity with your kids, you should ask yourself, okay, why is my kid drawn to only kids that look like them? In my household, am I bringing people who look like other people into my household? Do they see me with friends who are different from me, who are different from my family? So asking yourself why it is that your child is maybe picking these different, more homogeneous friendships, and then seeing what you can do in the home, but as well maybe talking to the school about how different things can diversify. Going to a diverse school can be really helpful, but having diverse people in extracurriculars can be even more helpful, because then you're interacting on a more social, fun basis, and that can really break down barriers.
How do we handle those awkward situations where maybe you're in line at the grocery store and your kid points out someone who's different from them?
Sure. Those are really hard because they can just be really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Your child says, oh, that person looks dirty, or why is that person so dark, or something like that. It can be really embarrassing. The last thing you want to do is shush them and just say, shh, 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 no, that's really rude, or that's hurtful, or because then it closes the door to the conversation, and you want to open that door. You want them to ask these questions. If it's not the right time to really have the conversation, you can say, that person's not dirty, or that person, has beautiful skin. We'll talk about it later. And then, maybe talk about it in the car and say, when we are out in the sun, we get darker, and kind of explain the whole thing about melanin and what that means, and how there's more, people with dark skin have more melanin in their skin. When you get tan, your skin changes, but that doesn't mean that you're dirty. Just kind of, having that conversation with them is really, really important. The most important thing is just not to shush them like that, like it's something that they shouldn't talk about.
And I think that's a lot of parents' instant reaction. Cover your child's mouth. Shh. I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's embarrassing. I mean, you as an adult know that that's not okay, but they don't. And if you're going to teach them that it's not okay not to say that, but it is okay to ask questions about race. It is okay to talk about race. It is okay to acknowledge that different people look different and are different, and add different things to the table. That's an important message. You just don't, you don't want to teach kids to say, oh, that person is dirty, but they don't know otherwise. I mean, they're 3, 4, 5 years old. They don't know.
Okay. Dr. Sweeney, she is based out of D.C. You can learn more about this topic through her program, culturallycompetentkids.com. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.